My father, Alex Mason, gave up everything he had. He abandoned me so he could defend his country from people like you. I hated him for that.
Let's get this out of the way now. Black Ops 2 isn't the revolution that some gamers want from this series, but it still offers the same fast-paced shooting fun that fans have come to love over the years, and I don't think they'll be disappointed with this year's entry in the series. Treyarch have been busy refining and enhancing the single-player campaign for this year's game, and maybe more so than any other year before it. While the campaign largely plays out like your typical Call of Duty, just enough has been added to keep Black Ops 2 feeling fresh while still remaining familiar. Players are now given the ability to choose a loadout before each mission, much like creating a class in the multiplayer portion of the game. While this doesn't sound like a massive enhancement, it is nice to be able to have a minigun accompany you for each level. Treyarch have also introduced something called Strike Force missions. The easiest way to describe it would probably be to call it a light RTS. You are given objectives such as defending several different points on the map, or escorting a convoy through a desert for example. During these missions you can assume control of any unit on the battlefield, be it a standard soldier you're used to playing as, or an airborne drone, or a big robot thing equipped with a minigun and grenade launcher. You can also utilise the tactical overhead view to give commands to the different units, such as ordering them to defend a capture point or sending them to fight an incoming wave of enemies. Ultimately, these Strike Force missions don't provide a major departure from the familiar Call of Duty gameplay, but they do offer something a little different to break up the monotony of the constant gunfights. But on the downside, they're fairly short and shallow, but thankfully there aren't so many of them that they become a chore. If they were fleshed out a bit more and were a bit longer, I think the Strike Force missions could have made a fun co-op mode for 2 players, but as it stands they're merely a brief distraction from the main missions and don't really hit their full potential. Not to worry though, because the main missions themselves have received some enhancements. For the first time in the Call of Duty series, Black Ops 2 includes branching storylines. Some of the choices are obvious, while others are more subtle that you'll most likely encounter without noticing. There was one point during the campaign where I intentionally ignored a QTE because I wanted to see how the character would fail. I was fully expecting to have to restart the scene, so it was quite surprising when the game just accepted my actions and moved forward with the story. There are multiple endings, and the choices you make can alter the journey toward them quite dramatically. It's a first to be able to actually discuss a Call of Duty campaign with a friend and have differing experiences and stories to tell. I actually hope branching storylines become a mainstay of the series from here on. To keep the gameplay from getting too repetitive, there are a few missions which involve piloting different vehicles such as cars, jets and even horses. These scenes are actually pretty fun, and the level on horseback is a particular highlight, as at one point you are given 3 targets to take out, and you're left to do it at your own pace in a mini sandbox type environment. It's by no means a massive open map in the same vein as say a Battlefield 3 map, but it definitely felt like I had more freedom than one usually does in a Call of Duty level.
Who can't hold up the attack?
Treyarch also attempted to include a couple of stealth sections, but I thought they fell a bit flat, and usually ended up being more frustrating than fun, usually due to the AI being a bit erratic and not behaving like you would imagine they would. But less than stellar AI isn't exclusive to the stealth scenes. I noticed questionable AI behaviour several times throughout the campaign. For example, enemies would often behave as if my teammates weren't even there, charging straight past them across the room to attack me with their rifle butts. I also noticed in a later level that my own teammates weren't acting as they should, simply standing on the spot, firing their guns into the air in some sort of collaborative half-assed effort to appear as if they're actually doing some work. Well, you're not fooling me! But the AI in single player pales in comparison to how terrible it is in the combat training, the offline multiplayer mode with bots. It's truly stunning how stupid the bots can be. But then, that's only on the lowest difficulty. If you play on veteran, the bots are absolutely deadly, but it's hardly a fair fight when they seem to always know where you are and are able to lock their aim on and headshot you the very nanosecond a single pixel of your character model pops into their view. But on to proper multiplayer, and fans will be pleased to hear that it's just as good as it's always been, if not better. It was a bit risky of Treyarch to change the established creator class system in favour of their new Pick 10 system, but it works great. It helps keep the game balanced by forcing players to choose between what they want versus what they really need. If you want an extra attachment for your primary weapon, you might have to sacrifice a grenade or one of your perks for example. It stops players from joining the battlefield loaded up with all the best and most overpowered equipment. Treyarch have done a good job of keeping players on relatively even ground. The map seemed decent too from my brief time with each of them. There are a lot of urban environments such as city streets, a train station and an expensive villa, but there are also maps which take place on a luxury yacht, a hidden jungle facility, a nuclear power plant, and on the deck of a Chinese supercarrier. There's plenty of variety in the map selection, and the fan favourite Nuketown makes a return from the first Black Ops. Black Ops 2 also offers a host of community options to share and create videos. The theatre mode is an improvement over the original Black Ops, and it now gives you the tools to create your own action sequences by letting you place down camera markers. Here's an example of something I created with it. All in all, the multiplayer found in Black Ops 2 is probably the best in the series yet. The refinements and tweaks made by Treyarch result in one of the most balanced Call of Duty titles, and also one of the most fun. The trademark of the Treyarch titles, the zombie mode, of course makes a welcome return, and this year there's a new way to play. It's called transit mode, and rather than being given a single closed off map to explore, transit mode starts you off at a bus depot, and once you've got the cash to open the doors to get outside, you can hop on a bus and drive to a new location. There are no loading screens when travelling between areas, making it feel as if it's almost a little open world. Zombies will attempt to smash through the windows and climb aboard while you're travelling as well, so you're definitely not safe if you choose to camp on the bus. Transit is the only zombies map included at launch, but it makes up for it by offering a hell of a lot more gameplay than the maps of old. You can scavenge randomly placed junk in the environment to craft equipment such as shields or portable generators. Upgrades can also be applied to the bus itself, giving passengers more manoeuvrability and increasing its zombie killing potential. Just make sure you're on the bus when it moves. If you get left behind, you won't last long. Plus, you'll have to suffer the humiliation of your squad laughing at you while watching your futile efforts to catch up with a bus out of the back window. It's not nice. Now on to configuration options. Black Ops 2 offers a fairly standard selection of graphic settings. It's no Dishonored in terms of options to tweak, but at least it's not as bare bones as some PC ports. It has all the basics like anti-aliasing, VSync, texture quality and ambient occlusion, and you can also tweak the depth of field, shadow quality, the number of corpses on screen, and there's a field of view slider, which only goes up to 80, though I believe Treyarch are planning to implement a patch that will allow the FOV slider to go higher, so unfortunately you'll just have to hold out for that if you can't stand the current settings. So in conclusion, Black Ops 2 is unlikely to convert anyone to the series, but it certainly isn't giving any ammo to those who decry Call of Duty for being the same every year either. For fans of the series, you've probably already got the game and are enjoying it immensely. For those on the fence, Black Ops 2 offers a complete package of single player, multiplayer and co-op, and I think it's possibly the best Call of Duty yet.